I wanted to make a video about a common pattern that I've seen in ways that intentions get stuck. And it's one that's shown up for me a few times on a few different scales. And I just noticed it right now where I'd been putting off sending out a particular newsletter for Intend, actually the one that announces the rebrand from Accomplice to Intend. And I realized that I wanted to include a bunch of elements in that were going to take more time than than actually just sort of writing some text. I've already written lots of text about the rebrand, but I wanted to do some customizations because I like to have things really context sensitive, and very sensitive to the different kinds of people receiving the email, whether they're old users who signed up a long time ago or more recently, that kind of thing. And so I wanted to customize a bunch of that stuff and improve the experience for old users returning. And so when I set out to write the email this morning, I realized I've only been allocating an hour to write and send this email. But to actually do as good a job as I want to do is going to take like 3 or 4 hours, maybe more. And in this particular situation, I do want to spend that time. I'm clear what I want with this. But part of what was happening, I think, like I've kind of been noticing I've sort of been putting this off. And now part of that is just it's a big, scary email that's going out to a lot of people. But part of it I'm realizing also is that, when I would intend it for a given day, I would only give myself, an hour to do it in the other stuff that I had in packing and travels and stuff like that. And not that I was like rigidly giving myself an hour, but that I was kind of like, I wasn't imagining it as a big project that would take a chunk of the day. Just sort of something to, kind of bang out and then get on to other things. And I think that this was causing me to not work on it because I knew I couldn't get it done in the time that I'd given myself. Now, one way around this, of course, is just to say, well, okay, I'm going to set an intention to, work on this for an hour. Like you can kind of, just aim to start and not worry about whether you finish. But that doesn't work always for a few reasons. One of them is, sometimes it can be nice to do things all in one go. Like that's how I prefer to work. But the other is that it might actually be the case that if you really thought about how long something was going to take, you wouldn't want to do it at all. And that brings me to my other big relevant case study around this, which was back in 2016. I thought it would be cool to make a kind of, there was a fad at the time kind of like an email newsletter that was not like being written afresh each week, but was like you sign up for it and then every day or every couple days you would get a new email that would kind of deliver to you some sort of course type thing. I haven't seen these in a while, but it was a thing that people were doing at the time. And so I thought, okay, I'm going to do one of those and write about intentionality, write about all of these topics related to workflow management and stuff like that, and that'll promote my software and be a good way to kind of help people at a level that's further out than them actually making an account and using the app and paying for it. And so I started working on this, I started drafting a few of the emails, and I noticed I couldn't get going with it. It was very hard to motivate myself. And so I sat down to kind of journal about it. I was like, what's going on here? Journaling is a great way to figure out what's going on when you're stuck with something. And what I realized was that I had imagined having an epic email course, like a really solid one. It's something that I felt really proud of, something that I felt was a unique offering of some of the wisdom that I've gained and was not just kind of, thrown together and was not just kind of parroting classic top 10 advice things. And so that was my vision for what I wanted the email course to feel like. However, I had only allocated enough time to do a half-assed thrown together version of the email course. So once I realized that, I had 3 options. You can imagine a little 2x2 of like quality and time spent. And I was trying to be in an imaginary box, kind of a fabricated option, link to an article about that below. I was trying to be in a box that actually was not valid. It did not exist, was not possible, which was high quality, low time. And once I realized that that was not possible, I had my options were the other three boxes. Spend a lot more time, have it be high quality, spend not very much time, have it be kind of thrown together. And then the other option is don't do it at all. And that's actually what I ended up choosing. I realized I did not have the time, given what was going on in my life at that point, to make the really nice email course that I wanted to make. And I realized that I would actually rather have no email course than a half-assed one. I didn't want something out there that I was embarrassed of, that I was kind of like, oh yeah, you can sign up for my thing, but it's not that good. Like, I was like, I didn't want that. And so the answer was actually, this is not viable, scrap project. But I could have kept straining at it for quite some time without realizing that if I hadn't done some journaling and been willing to kind of recognize that I was setting myself up for an impossibility. So if you've got something that you've been putting off on whatever scale, could just be a tiny thing that sort of could definitely be done in one day, and you definitely wouldn't want to spend more than one day on it. But nonetheless, you've been putting it off the last few days. You might do that with this, or you might explore with a larger project. Something that you've been sort of struggling at, and you've made some headway on, but geez, it sure feels hard to work on it. Whatever it is, take a moment and feel into how good do I want the output to be here? Like what am I actually imagining it being like in the version that I'm intending to do that would feel really good, that that I would feel really proud of in terms of my work here. Kind of imagine that. And then feel into, okay, is like, how much time is it going to take to do that version of it? Accounting for all the little polishes, the little editings, and then I'll want a graphic too. That's something I often forget until I'm partway through the thing. And then ask yourself, have I actually allocated that much time to it? And if not, then am I going to cut the quality? Am I going to increase the time? Or is it just not worth it? Now, maybe if you're in an organization, or depending on what your situation is, you might actually be able to delegate out something that allows you to, in fact, yourself only spend so much time and still get the quality that you're looking for. But that can be quite difficult. Or I guess, maybe you could do that for a graphic. You get somebody else to make the graphic for your thing and don't do it yourself. It's not to say that there aren't sometimes creative solutions to this, but the point is sometimes your body, mind, intelligence knows that you've set yourself up for an impossibility, and it refuses to work on that impossibility for obvious reasons. There's a quote that I like, riffing on JFK's quote about going to the moon, which feels relevant here. We do this not because it's easy, but because we thought it would be easy. I think that that's also fine. Some things just do take longer than you think they're going to take, and they're worth it anyway. I've experienced this in many things in my life where it's like, wow, this was so hard. If I'd known it was going to be so hard, I never would have done it, unless I'd also known how awesome it was going to be. And so sometimes it's like, it's possible to underestimate both the cost and the benefit. But yeah, let me know in the comments if that was helpful for you. And if you found that you had some other issue or whatever, feel free to ask about that. And I'm happy to explore other ideas, other situations.